segment here on the Passive Income Podcast with my brand new co-host, Joseph Hadaway. Hey, Joe, how are we doing today?
Hey Dave, I'm doing great. How are you?
All is good. All is good here in the Great White North. And so, since this is called the weekly close, I do just want to quickly go over the closing numbers for the week. And as everyone knows, I am in Canada, so this is in Canadian dollars. The TSX closed at 21,085 points. Getting close to that all time high. The all time high is around 21,800 points. So we'll see how things go. Then the S&P 500, 49.58. The Dow Jones Industrial Average at 38,654. This is actually an interesting one. The Canadian dollar to US dollar. So it looks like right now one Canadian dollar is 74 cents USD. I'm going to skip over crude oil. Bitcoin never closes, but again, this is in Canadian dollars. So 58,118 as of right now. Again, keep in mind the Bitcoin does not close. I'm going to skip over the crypto 200, the gold futures, the Russell, the 10-year bond, and get over here to the NASDAQ, closing at 15,628 points. So that is the weekly close. Those are the numbers, but we want to probably talk a little bit about earnings and what happened this week. There were a lot of earnings this week, right? There was Starbucks, Apple, Meta, was Microsoft in
Micro-
there as well? I'm gonna throw
Microsoft,
this over to
Google,
you,
and
Joe, because I know you have some points on these.
yeah, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon rounded out your FANG and your Mag 7 that reported this week. The main one, though, I think we all kind of want to focus on is Meta, who reported
Okay.
earnings Thursday after market close. So I guess that would have been yesterday, and was up like 16% in aftermarket trading, some ridiculous number. And I want to say with today's numbers up pushing 20-25%. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but Meta was the absolute darling. I see the live stream, Health and Wealth. What's up to you too? Yeah, Meta announcing their first ever dividend. Facebook, Meta, Instagram, WhatsApp is now a dividend paying company.
Yes, that was big news. I saw that all over Twitter, X, and some people saying, "Hey, I've added another dividend payer to my portfolio that I bought 10 years ago or more." And, people are very happy that all of a sudden they're getting a dividend from Meta, Facebook, Instagram, right?
Yeah, I saw, I think it was Tom the Savings Captain tweet out about that. He bought him back in like 2012, 2013.
That's right. Yeah, you saw the same tweet as I saw. So, yes, Health and Wealth. Hey, what's up? Uh, Shout out to you as well. Sorry, Joe.
No worries at all. And then on top of the 50-cent per share dividend payable, I believe it's in March, you also had a $50 billion stock buyback. So even now, Meta thinks their shares are undervalued.
Right.
Now,
Health and Wealth again. Now, if only Tesla would start paying a dividend, I think the majority of people would probably agree with you there. That would be absolutely amazing,
I
right?
mean, correct me if you think I'm wrong. Tesla was last week or 2 weeks ago. They reported earnings. I think we're a little far off from a dividend with them. They still need some money to put into corporate growth. They need to be reinvesting back into the company right now, which I mean you've seen with the massive capital gains since what 2020. Um, One share then, even with what 3-4 share splits now. They've got some massive growth still potentially on the table. Even with, I know their 2023, they released their outlook on their earnings call, and it was down and it was lower than what investors thought, and shares plummeted overnight. Um, but I trust Elon enough to one day they will be paying a dividend. I just don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, I agree with you. One day, we don't know when that one day is. Is it going to be in probably not 2024, and my opinion, probably not 2025 or 2026, but maybe somewhere down the road, 2027, 2028, 29, 30, somewhere. And again, we don't know where Tesla and EVs are going. We kind of do because governments are really pushing them. They're definitely pushing them here in Canada. I'm sure they're pushing them there in the US
Oh
as
yeah.
well. and probably other first world countries around the world as well. Your Germany's, Sweden's, Finland's, UK, Australia, all the other first world nations. I'm sure the governments are really pushing the EV technology as well. So we will definitely see where Tesla goes over the course of the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And with that said, hopefully we keep doing this every single week, every Friday on the weekly close. This is episode 1 of the weekly close.
I think, kind of speaking of earnings, and Dave, we'll be back to talk about this in about 3 weeks. Last week of February, I think it's the 29th, which is a Thursday. Rivian reports earnings, who might be the only pure play electric auto manufacturer publicly traded on the market right now. Because even Elon has said he sees Tesla more as an AI and a tech company than automotive. But Lord knows, I mean, they've got to put money back in the business right now because competition's high. The Ford EVs have been doing extremely well. I've heard the Toyota EVs, especially like the Camry and the hybrids, are doing extremely well. Tesla's got more competition than they did 10 years ago.
Yeah, no doubt, right? Like there's all of a sudden all the major manufacturers, like you mentioned, Ford and obviously GM as well. But Rivian is an interesting one as well, and that will be very interesting to talk about in a few weeks' time. So please make sure to subscribe and come back. And whether you're watching this here on the Passive Income Podcast or on Joseph's channel, the channels are paired. So please click subscribe and come back because that will be an interesting topic of discussion in a few weeks' time.
But yeah, I'd say going back also, I'm pulling up the stock chart so I can actually give some good numbers here. To another stock that reported this week, the world's most valuable company, valued at more than $3 trillion, Mr. Tim Cook, Apple. I think they surprised a lot of people with their earnings call. A lot of people were, I mean, granted, they were only, they beat EPS by 7 cents a share, which, I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at, but that's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. Same with they beat revenue by 1.5 billion, which again, not bad. We'll take it, but I think a lot of people are expecting a down outlook from them, given the whole their situation in China at the moment, their second largest market.
Yeah, Apple's another very interesting company. Needless to say, right? Like you said, the market cap is just ridiculous. It's mind blowing. Like you're to the point where like, how is Apple still considered a growth company when their market cap is this huge? And it's like, well, because they're still growing. And you're like, how? How are they still growing? And it's it's the innovation. They keep innovating and introducing new products. And yeah, no, I would agree with you there though that very interesting earnings call on Apple as well.
And speaking of Apple's innovation, that $3,500 new VR headset dropped today, and I know.
So you bought 4 of them today?
5 actually. Got to get one for my parents too.
I'm assuming mine's in the mail. You're shipping it to me.
Of course. No, I don't know who's paying $3,500 for that. I don't know. Maybe I missed the boat. It doesn't sound intriguing to me. And then I mean we're talking $4,000 after taxes. I'm not willing to drop that on some dumb electronic.
No, to me $4,000. I'm buying a used car for $4,000.
I mean that's USD too. If we're talking Canadian CAD, you're probably looking at what, 5?
Yeah, at least, right?
Let's see if we can look that up.
Yeah, so
4,700 before tax in Canadian dollars.
Yeah, so after tax, you're well over $5,000. Well over $5,000. It is. I'm sure it will be like, I don't know if it's going to be like the next big thing in tech, but people will buy that though. That there are people out there that is going to drop that, whether it's $4,000 US, $5,000 Canadian. People are going to buy it, and the ones who buy it are probably going to absolutely love it because it's Apple technology that's probably amazing, right?
I'm sure it is. I mean, it's kind of interesting to me to also see where so many of these big tech companies are aligning right now. Because, of course, we have Apple with their whole VR thing. Then on the other side of that, you have Meta, Facebook with their whole Oculus Rift, doing their whole metaverse thing. I mean, they're spending what, $5-6 billion a quarter on the metaverse, which can only really be accessed through VR. Apple's got a VR headset. I think Microsoft has been kind of like teasing, or I don't think they've officially announced. I think they've been rumored to be working on one in conjunction with the Xbox and, of course, the Windows PC. Combine that with AI, and we see all these stocks kind of going in the same direction.
Right. Interesting. Another one I kind of wanted to touch on was the Starbucks.
Yes.
Starbucks earnings this past week. They missed their earnings. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. I know they missed by a little bit, not too much. But the really intriguing part to that, to me, I saw a headline where they, after the miss in after hours trading, the share price appreciated, like the share price went up. So it was like, apparently not every single person on FinTwit, FinX, whatever we're calling it, has convinced people to drink their coffee and make their coffee at home. People are still buying Starbucks, still going to Starbucks every single day. Starbucks is obviously obviously a US company, but they're a global company. They're everywhere. We have them everywhere here in Canada. So, and I'm sure they're in every other, like most of the other 197 countries around the world, right? So, I don't know. Any thoughts on sort of that scenario of what happened with Starbucks this week with missing the earnings, but then raise the share price increasing?
So I unfortunately did not get to tune into Starbucks' earnings call. I did read a couple reports after. Like you said, they missed earnings. Revenue fell a little short. Same store sales, I think, were 6.2 was the analyst estimate, but fell down to 5%, which is still 5% year over year same store sales. That's a pretty good growth number. I think what a lot of people saw in them, or at least rather what I was reading, was even though same store sale growth was lower than expected, especially a lot of that coming in like the U.S. markets, there you still saw some single digit and at times even double digit revenue growth throughout like the Chinese and the Asian market. Because I think most of us, and kind of going on what you just said, would agree, Starbucks has kind of seen most of their growth in the North American sector. Like the days of your hyper growth, we're going to open 20 Starbucks a day or whatever their insane number was, is gone. They've done it. So right. I think we're starting to see their actual foothold coming into place in the Asian market. So new growth? Question mark. I mean, after that, I guess they're going to go to Antarctica, but I don't really know where else they could go.
Yeah, probably not enough of a population in Antarctica. Just a few scientists, and those scientists are probably brewing their own coffee in their
only if they want to be rich.
That's right. Driving their 2006 Toyota Corolla across the tundra of the Antarctic.
Actually, I'm going to shout out Dividend Hero. Working at the Polar Research Station has to be the ultimate get rich and get off the grid.
Right. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to bring it up. And this has really nothing to do with the earnings that came out this past week, but you kind of made me think about it. In the fact that I know before we started recording, we were talking about Anthony at Newcomer Investor. Shout out to him. Great person to talk to, great resource. And you've probably seen so many of his tweets about Tim Hortons. And I'm sure you know my Canadian love for Tim Hortons, how, Tim's is opening up locations all around the world in these amazing locations, right? Like Singapore and Dubai and all these other crazy places. Do you see Tim Hortons and Starbucks are they really direct competitors?
See,
like here in Canada, they kind of are and they kind of aren't.
See that?
But I'm really wondering, like, globally, are they even in the same are they even in the same sphere, realm, category?
I think 5 years ago, I mean, from what I've never been to a Tim Hortons. Sorry,
oh my
Dave.
God.
I'm going to disappoint you yet again. I don't even know where a Tim Hortons near me would be. Trying to think like if no, I'm from the American South, probably the most Tim Horton barren place in North America.
Right.
But
We do have Tom, savings captain, shout out to him as well, who has been, tweeting relentlessly when Anthony has been, mentioning all these locations all around the world opening up, and Tom is saying, "I can't even get one here in North Carolina."
yeah, Tom's only a couple hours from me too. So I mean, if he doesn't get one, I'm not getting one. His town is much
Right.
bigger than mine. But yeah, that said, I was actually just scrolling their Twitter earlier today and looking at like some of their marketing. So it to me it looked like 3 4 years ago they were not trying to compete with Starbucks. They were trying to be their own thing. But then I look at what they're doing now, and like even marketing tweet 8 hours ago of their cream brulee latte with they've got the whipped cream and like the signature red cup. That's a Starbucks competitor or someone who's trying to get into that same chain. And then on top of that, they've got the
Right.
pastries. I'm like, I'm sorry, hot take. Anyone in the chat, disagree with me. If you disagree with me, you're wrong. Starbucks food is trash. None of it's good. Literally, as someone who worked there for what almost 2 years, it's all bad. Um, so it almost sounds like
Thank you for your honesty.
it looks to me like they're trying to compete, and then they're also trying to hit that bakery side, kind of like what Dunkin's done with their whole donut brand to compete with both.
Right. Yeah, no, actually, Tim's has, some amazing food, like, they're not just a coffee chain, they're kind of, obviously they are a fast food restaurant, but they're definitely more than just a coffee chain. They have some really great sandwiches, a lot of great salads, a lot of great, like you said, the pastries, the donuts, and um, maybe again, it's my Canadian bias coming out, but they're absolutely amazing, right? So we will definitely figure out a way to get you to a Tim
Let me
Hortons.
look up real quick where the nearest Tim Hortons to me would be. But I mean, also Tim Hortons company was founded in what the '60s. They've been around for a while. They've
Yeah,
got the brand name recognition over time. I think the question is Starbucks does well to reach the younger demographic, whereas I don't think Tim Hortons has. Okay, the nearest Tim Hortons to me is in Norfolk, Virginia, which is about 2.5 hours north of me.
oh, that's not too bad. Like it's far, but
It's quite far for a cup of coffee. Uh,
well, no, it is. I get that, but I thought it was going to be like upstate New York or somewhere like closer to the Canadian border,
but
right?
now I'm looking around. I've been to Wisconsin a few times, and I don't remember ever seeing one. But also, I'm not exactly looking for it either.
Right. Well, now you will be. This definitely did not mean to turn into a rant or a full on advertisement just for Tim Hortons. So we'll carry
Unless
on
they
with
want to sponsor.
contact me, just DM me if you'd like to sponsor the weekly live. We can make that happen.
I guess.
That's
But
great. I love that.
I guess let's get back on track with the company that we all know. Amazon reported this week.
Yes.
Retail sales were higher than expected, and AWS slipped a little bit, which I don't know. AWS to me seems like the future of that company.
For those who don't know, explain what AWS
Yeah,
is.
AWS is Amazon Web Services, which is Amazon's cloud platform. Similar to like Google has their own, Microsoft, I don't remember what Google's is called, which shows how bad it is. Microsoft has Azure. They have their own cloud program you can use, host websites, host games, basically back end server space you can buy and rent. Like
Right.
marketplace.com, we host everything from AWS.
Yeah, interesting. So, anything surprising about the Amazon earnings this past week, or not so much? Just yep, they made a boatload of
They
money.
made a boatload of money. Beat EPS by 22 cents a share. I know, kind of related, kind of not. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, is supposedly getting ready to dump a bunch of Amazon stock. Um, Basically just because he can. I guess he wants the cash, but
Right.
just kind of on topic.
Another alimony payment coming up.
I don't know, but his ex-wife is set.
Yeah, she's doing okay for herself, right?
Which actually, speaking of disappointing cloud platforms, when is Alphabet going to get it together?
Yeah.
They're especially. I'm going back. It was their Q3 earnings call. Would have been back in like October-ish, maybe. I mean, their cloud numbers were so bad they dropped 280 billion in market cap overnight. Which, fun fact, comparatively, Nike's market cap is 275 billion, or at least it was at the time. So,
right.
And even now, I mean, their EPS they beat by 5 cents, 164 versus 159 expected USD, and they beat revenue by about $1 billion, which was great on their ad platform. But Google Cloud, that's the name of it. They're trying to market as the future of this company, but they're not keeping up at all with Amazon's AWS, which is the industry leader, Microsoft Azure. And even to go upon that, I learned that earlier this week. Internally, Amazon uses AWS for everything. Internally, Microsoft uses Microsoft Azure for everything. Google does not use Google Cloud. They have their own internal system, and then they sell cloud out to consumers.
That seems odd.
That's what
right?
I'm saying. Like, no faith in your own product.
Yeah. That does seem a little odd to me, definitely. So, okay, I kind of think, I don't know, is there any other earnings from the past week that we should talk about, or should we move on to what's upcoming for the next week?
I think my last comment was, I think it was Exxon or Chevron reported today, and Shell, I believe, as well. Oil sales, despite price per barrel slipping, that's going to hit their top line. Alive and well. We had the electric car talk, but oil sales, Dividend King, I believe, Exxon or Chevron, still alive, still kicking.
Yeah. No, I've had obviously many discussions on the Passive Income podcast with so many people about exactly sort of that, what you basically summed up in a sentence. Look, you literally did, talking about, like, we know EV cars are coming, but at the same time, oil isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So, Exxon and Shell, they come out and again, kind of probably not on the same magnitude of Amazon, but again, we made a boatload of money, right?
Absolutely. But yeah, with that, yeah, we could definitely start looking at next week, because I know I have a couple that I'm excited to hear from next week as well.
Right. Who's on the radar for next week? Honestly, I haven't really looked ahead enough. I'm kind of relying on you, my co-host.
Well, Monday, it's Big Mac with a clown. McDonald's is your largest market cap reporting. Also, one of the largest fast food franchises by number of locations on the face of the planet. Also, I'm sure, as you'll appreciate, Dave, a very heavy dividend payer.
Yes.
I believe Caterpillar is also Monday. I don't know a lot about the heavy equipment space, but I know they seem to be alive and well, especially with new home manufacturing in the U.S. up right now for higher than it has been in a while. Looking good.
Yeah. Shout out to McDonald's and hey, here's actually an interesting tidbit. For the first time in a decade, it's been 10 years, and guess what is back in Canada for the first time in 10 years?
Is it the McRib?
It is the McRib. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the McRib, but since it's been a decade, I might actually get one just because it's been 10 years since they've even been available, right? So
I was gonna say I've made it 26 years of life, and I've never had one, and I kind of want to keep it that way.
Yeah, I've probably had one or maybe two in 50 years of life. So you have 26 years to go to catch up to me. Caterpillar is another interesting one. Heavy equipment is a very interesting category for several reasons. Like you mentioned, sort of the new home construction, and not just new homes, but any type of construction. And they're not just in residential or whatever type of construction, or even they're everywhere, right? Like again, going back to the oil industry, oil fields have all this heavy equipment everywhere, and mining has heavy equipment everywhere. So yeah, Caterpillar is a great company, very well needed. And again, comparable, I don't know the exact numbers on the dividends, but comparable to what you said about McDonald's, another solid, great dividend payer.
Let's see. I'm pulling a
Awesome.
dividend yield. Yeah, 1.69%. Paid $5.20 in dividends last year. Not bad.
Right? Yeah. So the one thing I don't really get, well, I guess I kind of just explain it to myself because they're everywhere in the oil and oil fields and the mining and residential construction, but so much of that equipment is also rented, right? So and it's not like you buy a new excavator every single year. You buy an excavator and it lasts for 20 or 30 years. So
it is.
I don't know, but they're doing something.
It is
right,
not an
sure.
iPhone.
No, it's not. And it's drop and buy the new one every 2 or 3 years. It's like, a brand new excavator probably costs $300,000. And when you get to 300 grand, I don't really care if you're talking in US or Canadian dollars. It's just a boatload of money, right?
Amen to that. Also,
okay.
Another one you might want to talk about next week on Wednesday. I think it's either Wednesday or Thursday. Disney.
Oh, Disney. I will warm up my singing voice so I can sing you all the songs from Frozen.
I was thinking if Disney beats earnings, come back next Friday, and me and Dave are going to sing a part of your world or part of their world.
Oh, I suddenly want to build a snowman. Okay. We do have to try to pay for this episode. If we ever get the viewership up on the weekly close live to, I don't know, what do you think? 1,000, 10,000 viewers. Maybe someday I could actually pay Joe to be my co-host. So with that said, we'll try to make some money here. Please check out buyinvestingshirts.com. Receive a free passive income posse. Turn that cash register around coffee mug with any purchase over 100 Canadian dollars before taxes and shipping at buyinvestingshirts.com. Use code word posse for a 5% discount. Link in the description below. Yeah, that would be amazing, man. We'll get this up to, a few thousand viewers and YouTube will pay us money.
Hey, and don't forget the American discount on that buy investing shirts. If you're here in the US, that's only about $74.
That's right. That's right. And you know that because you saw the closing numbers at the top of the episode.
There it is.
Awesome. We definitely were trying to keep these weekly closes to just about 30 minutes or so. And I see we're getting to that point. And I guess before we sign off, any sort of last words you want to shout out or say anything to anybody?
Hey, just absolutely thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. And come back next Friday. We'll be doing this yet again.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Joe. I do truly appreciate you for, one, your bubbling personality, but definitely for agreeing to become my co-host here on this segment, the Weekly Close Live on the Passive Income Podcast. And I do hope you're maybe checking this out on Joe's channel as well. So definitely give Joe a like and subscribe over there if you happen to be catching this on that YouTube channel. And if you're on this YouTube channel, the Passive Income, please be sure to like and subscribe here as well. Subscribe to both channels. That's all I'm really saying, right? It's free. Just click a button. It's not that hard.
And if you really want to help, after you hit subscribe, there's a little bell. You can hit that too.
Yeah, and then you'll know every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, it's time for the Weekly Close Live. Awesome. It does sound like we're going to have some interesting topics of discussion next Friday. So please come back and join us. Truly appreciate everyone for being here. And with that said, yeah, thanks again, Joe. It's been a really fun half an hour. And I think that's perfect. We'll just keep it short and sweet and sign off there.
That's good. Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Bye. Subscribe.